Hey everyone, I'm Jaden.
And I'm Noah.
We are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. So today, I'm pretty excited. So, I realized when we recorded Infamous that of the currently 8 episodes we have, 5 of them are PlayStation exclusives.
Right.
And I thought, man, we're really reaching out to a small market here because we just keep talking about PlayStation exclusive games.
Right, but I mean, it was the most sold console of this generation.
Yeah, but either way, I was like, okay, so maybe our next couple episodes we will not do PlayStation exclusives.
True.
And today we are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003. Now, there have been dozens and dozens of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games dating all the way back to arcades in the 80s, NES, and this game specifically, which is just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was released in 2003, and it was based on the 2002 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, which it was the best I can say in terms of describing that show is it was very anime inspired, very sharp with the animation and the voice acting, and the plot itself was more serious plot.
It was, and also, just like anime, it had seasons upon seasons, and it got so, crazy and convoluted, and,
yeah.
The first episode to the last episode is just, the difference is insane,
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess, history of the show real quick, because the game is based on several arcs of the show, and I remember when we were younger playing this game, thinking man, this game is based on the first few seasons, whatever, and then being well, I know that, this stuff happens, I remember there are space triceratops and stuff, and that must be the later seasons. Then a few years ago, I discovered that this entire show, every single episode, is available on YouTube, ad-free, I think mostly ad-free, on a channel that is just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I think it's probably a semi-official thing.
Right.
And I watched through it, and this entire game is just the first season of the show. The Triceratops basing, that's the beginning of season 2.
Right.
So I was I remember that was absolutely shocking. And, I watched that whole series, I think there's 7 seasons. It's good. I liked it. Towards the end, you could see they definitely were at the point where they were trying to change things up to renew interest because people weren't watching it. At one point, I think season 6, the Turtles went to the future 1,000 years somehow.
They did.
And Splinter was all digitized, trapped in this digital world, so they had to try to get him back, and it was just wild.
Yeah, that's actually the season I stopped watching, because when you told me about that, I also rewatched the show at that same time, and, I loved all the beginning parts, everything I already knew, and then, they go to the future, and there's a scientist trapped in a robot's body, and a whole intergalactic war, and craziness.
It is just absolute insanity. And then, the 7th season, which is 13 episodes, was basically existed to wrap up the show. The last episode, maybe 2 episodes, might be a 2-parter, is April and Casey's wedding.
That's cute.
Yeah. And all the people from the past are there and stuff, and some people attack, usual wrap up. And really funny, in season 7, April's character is 100% redesigned.
What?
Looks if you can remember the April in that show, the red hair, the very pale skin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just that look.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like that in the slightest. Literally, I didn't even know it was the same person, but nobody in the show comments on it. They're oh, it's the same April we see every day.
That's weird.
And it just shocked me how different she looked. And besides the point, the game takes place over the first season, is a beat-em-up game, very classic beat-em-up game, which is typical for a Ninja Turtles game.
Most Ninja Turtles games are beat-em-ups.
And I mean, I feel I don't know what other way you would do it.
I mean, that's that's how they've all been done. It's just a staple of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game series as a whole. And I don't know a lot of other game types that the Turtles would succeed in, you know?
I mean, really, like, beat 'em up, hack and slash, which to me have always been kind of the same thing. I mean, that's it. I don't know. You could maybe do, like, yeah, I don't know, because also considering, like, that they're based in New York, I guess you could say maybe, like, a Spider-Man style game, like an
That's
open
true.
world, kind of just going around doing missions.
Right.
But even then, it's a beat 'em up.
Right.
Like, Spider-Man PS4 is like, the combat is just a beat 'em up. It's just a little more,
that's true enough, but it's also
in-depth.
an open world, and it has interesting traversal and freedom and different types of missions and, you know, a story. And a lot of beat 'em ups aren't exactly, you know, that in depth.
Yeah.
But I could see, like I was saying earlier, sort of like a Gotham Knights style co-op where you're in New York and you can go into the sewers and you can use the vehicles, and there's the foot and, you know, other enemies just are around, and there's a story, you know. They've always had a flair for dramatic stories and Ninja Turtles, like we're saying, so it fit right in. I would imagine it feeling more gritty, kind of like Arkham City, like just, you know.
Well, yeah, I think it would also depend, you know, I'd personally be interested if they did, like, a more adult-oriented game, because, like, the original comics were
That's true.
very adult-oriented.
You're right, where they're, like, cutting up people and stuff like that.
Yeah, and, you know, drinking beer and stuff.
Right, that would be cool.
Anyway, this game. I would say, you know, this era of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles very much what we grew up on. You know, like, we had some, like,
well,
videos.
I mean, like, the two biggest are, like, this and the 80s one, right?
Yeah, which we did have some, like, videos of episodes of the 80s
Yeah,
one.
we liked it.
Yeah, it was fine, but this was the one we grew up watching. We watched on TV.
This was the cool one.
Yeah.
It was darker, you know, and like you said, it was anime-like, you know?
Yeah.
And at that same time, we were into Dragon Ball and Naruto as well.
Yeah, so it very much fit what we like to watch.
Exactly.
But the game, yeah, I don't know what to say. It was one of the games that definitely defined our childhood. We played this game a lot. Like, in terms of, like, the GameCube, PS2, I don't remember which one we had this game on.
I don't know.
But it was when we were in that era of our gaming career, and this probably is one of the games we played the most in that time span. We played it a lot.
And it's mostly replaying because, you know, there's not a lot of extra content. It's the most interesting thing is the story and the levels and playing it together. You know, this game gave us a co-op high that we've tried to chase ever since.
Yeah. I mean, this was really, like, I think built our, like, couch co-op experience and shaped it, because we would always try to find games, couch co-op, that were as fun, and I don't think, not a lot stacked up.
It was this and then Battlefront 2.
Pretty much. Anyway, so getting into the game itself, the setting, you know, the game takes place in mainly New York. The game takes place in many small areas on a level-by-level basis, so basically the way the game works, there are stages, which are the big, kind of like arcs, you could say, and then each stage is split into levels.
Right.
Or I think they're called, they're just called areas.
I kind of think about the stages kind of like chapters.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
you know?
like it's like, you know, each, like, an arc of a show. Like, each arc, each chapter.
They're all a few levels, and they usually finish with a boss fight.
They always finish with a boss fight. Yeah.
Well, there's some, like, weird breaks and weird in-between stages.
Yeah, we'll get to
talk
that.
about those.
But basically, so the setting, you know, you're in the sewers, you're in just New York City, you're in, like, you fight on rooftops, you fight in laboratories, you fight in museums, you know, you fight in a junkyard, you fight in a subway area, in a construction area, in an underground lab, underground caves. Like, it's a lot of stuff, you know, but it's just like, it's you know, it's not, like, this honestly is one of the first, this might be the first game we've talked about that doesn't have, like, an open world aspect to it.
That's true.
Like, I think it is the first game that has, like, no open world aspect. There isn't a map with special locations. It's just, you follow the preset path of the game. It's usually pretty, like, there aren't a lot of, like, invisible wall stuff. Usually there's one way to go, and that's it.
No, there are a lot of invisible walls. Don't you remember how how level works is
Well, no,
you're
I'm
kind
saying
of
like
you're boxed into a little section.
You're boxed, but usually the way they do the boxing, there isn't even need for an invisible wall a lot.
Right,
It's just
right.
there's only one way you can move anyway.
Right. Well, that's because they make it feel immersive. That's just good level design.
Yeah,
but the boxes are still there.
Yeah, like it's a visible wall.
Right. Exactly.
But it's very obvious which way it's start to finish, point A to point B. There's never really any confusion on where to go.
Yep.
You know where you've been. It's very simple. So of course, got to talk about the characters. The game, 4 protagonists. There's Leonardo. He's the leader of the group. Wears the blue headband. Uses 2 katanas.
And then there's Donatello. He's the purple headband. He uses a bow staff. And he is the intelligent turtle. He is the techie turtle. He's always hacking and inventing and making things.
Yeah. And then there's Michelangelo. He's has the orange headband. He uses nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the goofy one, the jokester, silly one.
Right. And then there's Raphael. He has the red headband. He uses 2 scythes.
Sai?
Is scythe the plural?
I think so.
Okay. And he is the angry one. He is. That's his whole thing.
Because I think it's I think he's technically the oldest,
mm-hmm.
or he's just the most physically strong. And he's also the one who I should be the leader and stuff. Literally every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle medium has that story point happen where Raph tries to rebel, saying he should be the leader. Sometimes he just leaves. Sometimes he just...
Most of the time he just leaves.
Yeah, sometimes it's just he fights, whatever. And then in the end, he recognizes Leo as the leader, and we move on. It happens a lot.
Favorite turtle?
In general, I do like Donatello, just because one...
Purple, I thought Donatello would be your choice anyway.
I do. Purple is one of my favorite colors, so I, as a kid, always liked him for that reason. And, I like kind of the smart, techie aspect of him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely seen more my speed.
That's fair. I always liked Leonardo, and the reason is he has the best weapons.
The 2 katanas are really cool.
They beat every other weapon in a one-on-one. Nunchucks, they're cool, but they don't cut people. You can't. Are they lethal? I'm not sure. I've never seen Michelangelo put somebody out.
Well,
but they've
can still.
Leonardo has definitely been referenced to killing people.
Yeah.
In kid-friendly stuff, he definitely has done that, whereas the other turtles will not do it as much.
Yeah. So then the antagonists, in this, there are a lot of bosses, a lot of just enemies in general, but I felt like if we're talking about the big bads, there are 3, at least from the show.
Mm-hmm.
These are kind of the 3 recurring villains that are always there.
Mm-hmm.
There's Shredder.
Yeah.
He's the Shredder.
What kind of introduction does he need?
Yeah.
If you know about the turtles, you know about Shredder.
I think this is still my favorite design for Shredder is in this show, this game, where he's all shadowy. His face can't be seen.
In everything else I've ever seen, Shredder just comes off as really campy and not menacing. But in this show, I always felt like he was menacing. He feels like he's in charge of the situation and he knows what's going on. Yeah. And then they give him this, he has this huge backstory and, he has layers upon layers.
Well, that goes with the craziness of the later seasons.
Right. But even just his backstory in martial arts and his relation to Splinter and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think this show and the 2012 show, which I didn't really care for overall, are the 2 best versions of Shredder, especially in terms of just how powerful he is,
mm-hmm.
and how because the first time he fights the turtles in this show, he just instantly just knocks them all down,
right?
And Splinter has to save him and stuff.
Right.
He is very he's very good at martial arts, which is something I feel like people don't think about because of the getup and just the overall mystique.
Right, he's supposed to be an extremely good master and one of a kind, and unbeatable by anybody else.
Yeah,
except for Splinter, with help.
Yeah. So then you have Hun. He's just huge, huge dude. He's got a purple dragon tattoo on his arm. He's like, he's the brute guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of what he does.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
He's not deep.
Yeah. Then you have Baxter Stockman.
But he does have a good voice. I do like Hun's voice.
Hun's voice is good.
Yeah.
Then you have Baxter Stockman, who's just like the mad scientist. Very brutal in the show.
Yeah.
Because in the game it's not really a thing, but in the show, every time he fails Shredder maims him in some way, and he keeps failing. So eventually he's just a head in a jar. Like, literally, like, he loses limbs. The first time he fails him, he loses an eye. Like, it's legit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really scary. And in the game, his appearance does change over time, but it doesn't explain why.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like
he just looks different every time you see him, and you're like, why does he look different?
Yeah, I think a decent amount of this game is you have to have watched the show to understand, because they deal with, like, the Purple Dragons, who are a gang, and, all, like, the Baxter Stockman stuff. It's stuff like, if you don't watch the show, they don't explain it for you. It's like, you watch the show.
But you still get the gist.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, you can play the game just fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a Ninja Turtles game. I don't think people really play Ninja Turtles games for the, Oscar-worthy story. But it's definitely like, watching the show absolutely makes the game more fun.
True.
Like, knowing everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Side characters, there is Master Splinter, of course, is the rat, dad, and mentor to the Turtles. And he is indeed a playable character.
Yep. I always hated how they treat Splinter in any sort of show, game, whatever, because he always is, like, lost or injured for, like, some reason.
Because he's too, he's like the paradox where if we have him around, why isn't he fighting? Because he's stronger than everybody.
Yeah.
So they have to cut him out of here, He's trapped, he's hurt, he can't fight, But in a game, you don't need that. I mean, for the story, of course, the first time you play through it, you play as the 4 Turtles. And then you can unlock other characters through different means.
Yeah.
But being able to play as Splinter just elevates any Turtles game.
Very cool.
I also love Casey Jones. Introduced very early in almost every Turtles media. He usually befriends Raph. And,
because they're both hot-headed.
Exactly. And Casey is just like a dude who is raised on the street, and he got involved in gangs, and then he decided that, or did they do something to him?
I think it varies. I think just overall it's for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Like, I think in the show, it's like they did something to his brother, like they killed his brother or something.
Yeah.
But once again, the game, that's not explained. It's
Right.
just, he's a dude who wears a hockey mask and uses a hockey stick to beat people up.
Yep.
Vigilante style.
Yeah, and you can also play as him. And Casey is always a fun character in the Turtles, because he's one of my favorite portrayals of just a regular guy deciding to do something about crime, and that he just uses sports equipment as his weapons.
Like, it's really, like, to me, kind of pokes fun. I mean, I imagine because the Turtles themselves were kind of started as, like, a parody.
Oh, yeah.
Of, like, he's just poking fun at the, like, Batman and...
Right.
Like, just the no superpower vigilantes who, like, he can't afford fancy gadgets and stuff, so he just, takes his gym bag with a baseball bat and a hockey stick and goes to town.
And that's what's so great about Casey, because he, no matter what, he's always down to fight. Even when it's Shredder, he's like, all right, we're here, it's whatever.
Yeah. Then there's April O'Neil. She is a reporter.
A lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of times. She basically, like, in this canon, she also owns an antique shop. I don't know if that's something that's always a thing.
I don't know, but I do like that.
Yeah.
I like that part of the show.
Basically, she's just like a friend. She discovers them. She helps them. They help her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's just that. Not too much to it.
Yeah, true. And she also dates Casey.
Oh, yeah, she does. And sometimes they get married. So, getting into the story of the game. The story loosely adapts season 1 of the show. Basically, the first like the first arc is just like the first few episodes of the show where you introduce them and then you introduce Casey and stuff. And then a whole arc itself, the second arc of the game. So it basically, like I said, the game split into, I think, 6 stages. Stage 1, just the beginning, introduce all the characters, fight the gang members, go through a bunch of the little mouser robots.
Mm-hmm.
The final boss of that is a giant mouser robot
That's
in Stockman's lab.
Mm-hmm.
Then stage 2, Nano, is actually based on just one episode. I think it's one episode where
It's actually, I think it's like a 2-part episode.
2-parter. Most of their first season are a bunch of small arcs like that, like usually 3 parts.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2 or 3.
Yeah. So then, basically this, once again, none of this is in the game. This is all in the show. In the game, you just fight in this robot. But in the show, this guy ends up he ends up with these nanobots that think that he is the nanobot's dad. So they basically kind of act like have the mind of a child, I think artificially intelligent.
Right.
Child, and basically just do what he says, and he is he's a crook, so he uses that robot to just commit crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the turtles eventually stop him. They drop him into lava, and he burns up. It's
the robot, not the guy.
The robot, yeah. It's overall the story is kind of sad.
It's extremely sad.
It's sad, yeah.
Because the robot is cute, damned it.
Yeah.
And but in the game, it is not sad because that robot is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's a very hard boss fight.
It is a really hard boss fight.
Yeah, when you get to that last one, it took us a long time to figure it out, and even then,
even when you know what to do, the mechanics of it are still quite difficult.
Yeah,
because it kind of relies on the platforming of the game a little bit, the jumping mechanic,
and
which is not the best.
And you have to hit explosive barrels into the thing. And other than that, you can jump and attack it, but the jump attacks in the game are not great. And so it's a hard fight. That one took us a while. Because even then, we could only beat it with Michelangelo because his jump attack allows him to also hover. Yeah. So he could do it longer.
And he could get multiple hits.
Yeah. But then, those barrels, hitting the barrels to him, is very hard to aim. It doesn't make sense. Very hard fight. Then the next arc, Stage 3. So Stage 3, the turtles discover that this, there are reports on the news of this turtle man that is committing crimes, robbing and stuff. The turtles discover that that's the Foot. They, in this robbery, they follow them. They end up at a construction site, and this basically when this robot turtle that can use all of the turtles' weapons.
Yep.
Fights them. Eventually, you're on a platform being held up by a helicopter, fighting it there. That's the last fight of that.
Oh yeah, the action sequences in this game are beautiful. The sound design is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. So you end up. Yeah, it's cool.
In that character, also the turtle, the robot turtle.
Yes.
Is also a playable character.
Yep.
And it has an interesting mechanic where you can switch it has the same style as the 4 turtles, and you just switch between them.
Yeah.
And it just makes it really fun when you're fighting against somebody else in the versus mode.
Yep. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So then Tengu, which is the one that you're in a museum. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you're there, but you're there. The actual game part of it is really memorable to me because that's when you fight the 5 mystic ninjas, the elemental ninjas.
Yep.
Based on the 5 elements.
Yeah, and also the design of the museum will always stick out in my mind. Yeah. It's just
it's
very
I can
interestingly
100% just remember that museum clearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's the only one where story-wise I don't remember anything about it. No. It's just you're in a museum, you fight the 5 elemental ninjas, which are really cool, and you get to the end and fight a guy with a rocket launcher. Very difficult
opponents also.
Very difficult. That one was probably, I would say, for us beating, for all the places that we beat in this game, in the multitudes of time we played through it, that one was always the hardest one for us to get through. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say on the first time, but then if we died or something, the second time through would always be a lot easier.
Yeah, it just have to relearn their attack patterns and stuff, and then you could figure it out.
Right.
So then Stage 5, Notes from the Underground, based on a 3-part series, where Donatello has this crystal. While sparring in the lair, Raph kicks Mike into a wall, which breaks open to reveal this hidden tunnel they didn't know was there. Because once again, not explained in the game, but in the show, their old lair gets found. They end up with this new lair, which is super kind of futuristic looking for being in a sewer and super big open stuff. And so Don finds this crystal. And then they end up finding this tunnel, the crystal starts glowing, and so they use the crystal to kind of find this it leads them like a compass, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or just like a hot cold kind of thing, and
okay.
It glows more when they get closer.
Brighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they head into this tunnel and they find these monsters, fight through the monsters. Eventually they reach outside. They're in this big lab facility kind of area. They fight through monsters there. They find out that from some of the monsters, because the monsters are actually intelligent, at least 2 of them are, they explain that the Foot had experimented on them and turned them into monsters. And then they ask the turtle to stop Shredder. You end up fighting the big monster, King Nail. That fight is hard.
That fight is hard because he is armored and he flies around and dodges a lot.
Yeah, he flies around a lot, and it's just very the turtles don't have a lot of anti-air attacks. Mm. And they don't have a lot of in-air attacks. So it's
air attacks. That's a fighting game term.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. And so it's hard.
But airing is hard in any game.
Yeah. And this one is the one that is the most unlike the show. It is, in the game, completely different from the show.
It is. And it always impressed me how they took this mini orc in the show and made it this huge, interesting level. All these monsters that they designed.
The foot thing is still there. They were created by the Foot.
Yeah.
They were created specifically in the show to find the turtle's lair.
Mm-hmm.
But there end up being this race of ancient mole people that lived underground, and it's just wild. It is completely different. But they do still have the intelligence part, and yeah, it's very different. It's the one that is the most I don't know where they got this idea from the game, from the show. It's just, it's completely different. But it's still cool. It's a cool arc. The characters are cool.
Oh yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So then, in the game, Stage 6, Justice, basically the turtles attack Oroku Saki, who is Shredder's real name, tower. They fight a bunch of people. They fight Hun, sort of. They can fight Baxter Stockman, sort of. And eventually they end up going on the roof and fighting Shredder and beating him. And this is where one big aspect of this game is each turtle's story is different. Whoever the first player is, if you're playing co-op, just whoever the first player is, that turtle is, the turtle he picks is the turtle that is you're going through that turtle's story, which for overall the game isn't that different, but there are different bosses sometimes. And for unlocking characters, you have to fight them as that specific. For example, in the first area, the first stage, you fight Casey if Raph is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
In this stage, you fight Hun if Mike is the main character. But then, later on, you fight Baxter Stockman if Don is the main character.
Mm.
So they all have kind of their unique bosses. There's kind of a replay element of that. And then, once you beat the story and beat Shredder as all 4 turtles, he runs inside, and then you fight Oroku Saki, so just Shredder without the armor.
Right.
Which is, we never did this. We never got that, from what I can remember playing the game, in the earliest stages of us playing it, we would not even get to Shredder, I don't think. We wouldn't get that far. Mm-hmm. Then we played it when we were older, and we got to Shredder, but we couldn't beat him. Then we discovered, playing through all of the turtles, if you go through up to, because in between some of these stages are these training missions in the sewer.
Mm-hmm.
If you beat the last training mission with every turtle, you unlock this super move that when you activate it, it basically it's a screen wipe. It kills all the enemies on screen. And it does a huge amount of damage to bosses. And you get 3 of them per level. And you can also find items that give you another use. But super overpowered. Mm-hmm. And we use that to beat Shredder the 4 times and then beat Oroku Saki. It just makes it easy. Because going from Shoto to Rokusaki, even though it's in the same stage, it does actually reset the counter. So it made it incredibly easy.
Mm.
And that's it. It's a very simple ending.
Couldn't you pick up a turtle and throw them?
What?
Couldn't you pick up a turtle and throw them? No, if you held block and faced each other, and then one pressed whatever that action button was, because we played it on GameCube and PlayStation, the one turtle would pick up and throw the other turtle, and they would be spinning in the air. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
That might be in the sequel.
Maybe.
But I do remember a mechanic like that. I don't remember the super move.
Yeah, because if you remember, it would basically, the screen would turn black, and then it would have, like, just, like, an image from the show of, like, all the turtles doing their, like, poses.
I remember that,
and then it would be, like, a flash, and then all the enemies are dead.
Yeah.
They're, like I said, just super overpowered. And that, like, at the time, when we were playing through the game, I'm pretty sure we looked up, like, a guide, and the guide was like, yeah, get this move, and then it's super easy.
Right.
And it was right. So that's the story of the game. Like I said, it's, like, without watching the show, it's just things kind of happen for the sake of happening. But, it's still fun. Like, we hadn't seen most of the show when we had first played the game.
True. I mean, we had really just seen the first season.
We had seen, like, episodes of the first season, and then, like, episodes of, like, the second and episodes of the third. Like, literally just random episodes. Mm-hmm. That it's like when I was watching through the show in its entirety, I was like, oh, I remember this episode, and oh, I remember this. But, like, there's, like, a tournament arc, and, like I said, the space Triceratops, all this stuff that...
Yeah, but that's how you watched TV back then, you know? You just watched it when it was on, and you watched whatever episode was on.
Yeah.
You know?
What was that, on, like, Kids WB?
So, combat. Right? So you have a main melee button, and that's your...
You have, like, a light and heavy.
Well, yeah. The heavy attack's just, like, one attack.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Unless you link it into combos.
Yeah, that's true, because it changes
I guess it's always one attack, because it's basically... do a heavy attack or do
but you can't do
light,
an
heavy,
attack
light,
after
heavy.
it.
Yeah, correct.
Anyway, so yeah, players have light and heavy attacks, a jump attack, and shuriken they can throw. You pick those up throughout the level by breaking boxes and stuff. There's different types of shurikens, like fire ones. There's electric, normal, and they are pretty scarce. So you want to use them wisely for the most part. And then we have the enemies. The enemies in this game are interestingly designed, but when you look at the different stages, the enemies in stage 1, you basically have mousers and thugs. And they have the mousers just have one design. They have the regular mouser, and then they have it's kind of like an enhanced version later on. I think it's just indicated by a different color, but it basically looks the same, just reskinned. And then the thugs have like 3 or 4 unique designs, and you just see those throughout the levels, except for the boss thug, who I can't remember what that guy's name is.
Oh, Dragonface.
Dragonface, yeah. Anywho, then you have the in stage 2 you have the nanobots. They are a little more unique.
I mean, they're just like robots.
They are robots. They slink around, but they're unique in the fact that when you kill them, they crash and detonate and can cause damage. And the developers were not shy about overloading the screen with a lot of those robots so that you were forced to stand in detonations.
Explosions reach really far in this game.
Yeah. And they send you flying, and you can't do anything about another explosion if you are already hit by a first one, so they can stack. You could be hit by 4.
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
It can be frustrating. Anywho, like we said, the main robot of stage 2 becomes giant, and you are jumping around garbage and trying to hit barrels to get them to fly into a specific section of the robot's head. And if that doesn't work, it's the varying jump attacks, the inconsistent. The hitboxes are inconsistent. The jump is hard to control because momentum stops after you reach the air. Then you get to the more interesting enemies, I think. I love the foot ninjas. and the foot tech ninjas. They're the invisible ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, when they're standing still, like, I won't even see them. They'll sneak right up on me. Mm-hmm. And you basically have to look for the shadow on the ground.
Yeah,
where
they also,
be.
like, you can see them, like, they're kind of like,
yeah,
give, like, a kind of...
Yeah, it's kind of like that like predator, like a blur.
Yeah.
But I always have trouble
But it's like,
that.
They will absolutely catch you by surprise if you don't know they're there. Because you're just, like, you have to be looking out for them to see them.
Mm.
So if you're just, like, fighting a group of regular enemies, and they decide to throw one or two in there, and you're not paying attention, they will sneak up on you and just knock you down.
That's true. But they're pretty easy to take care of, because when you knock them down, they are visible. And then, if you don't have any other pressure, you can just non-stop attack them until they're dead. And basically, you just focus them if they're there, because they can cause trouble if you don't pay any attention to them. But even worse than that are the foot bees. The foot ninjas, they're in little helicopter hovercraft type things, and they shoot at you. And you have to jump attack to hit them. Mm-hmm. Shurikens miss, land attacks mostly whiff, unless you use like Donatello's heavy attack that sweeps overhead.
Yeah, no, we'll get into that a bit.
Mm-hmm. So,
actually, I guess that would be part of this. But basically,
okay,
I guess I didn't write it down, but like every turtle do different movesets because they're different weapons, and very nice in terms of, I guess, being realistic, is they do have different reaches, and like Raphael has the shortest reach with his little side, Donatello has the farthest reach because he's using a bow staff.
Yep.
It is actually like each weapon is different, and each turtle feels different to play, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And all of their movesets feel unique and distinguished. I love that. Anywho, there's also the mutants. That's the stage 5.
Yeah, just the monsters.
Yeah, the monsters. There are a few interesting designs there, and they can be some tricky opponents because they have a really far reach in their attack.
And they do a lot of damage. Like stage 5, I think, is the most of like us just getting knocked out and having to like probably like in terms of restarts is one of the highest because of just they do so much damage that like if you don't figure out their attacks, they can knock you down.
You're right. You have to pretty much have flawless levels, or you're getting to the end of the level with a quarter health left and, barely slinking by. Anyway, there's also a lot of environmental traps in that stage as well.
Yeah.
That can cause a lot of issues. Yeah. Anywho, this game also has great bosses that feel unique and are hard in their own each individual way. Like Casey's not the best example, but Casey,
he's a unique boss. That's why.
He is a unique boss. I mean, it's just Casey's it's just Casey's player character.
Yeah.
Like it's the same one you get when you unlock. It's all the same moves and stuff, and he's not really that hard. I don't think.
No, I mean he's like if you play with Raph, the first boss you fight.
Right. I think Casey is easier as a boss because I remember that bosses that I consider easier are ones that we could get them locked into hit stun and then like take turns hitting them until they died, and then they couldn't even hit. They never had a chance to hit us.
Yeah, you could do that.
And Casey was the best example of that.
Yeah.
But then like you had others like Hun.
Yeah.
Hun is not like that. If you just try to like attack him a lot, he will armor through.
Yeah, he's very much like a tank built to take damage. You gotta like basically chip him and then run away and just repeat for a long time.
Right.
The Mystic Ninjas are all cool. There's mentioned them earlier. There's air, water, earth, fire, and metal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in like the show, I think they're like summoned by like they work for the foot. It's really weird. But in the game, once again, it's just like they're there, like they just come out of nowhere.
They just came out of nowhere.
But they're really cool bosses. They all have their own unique attacks and really fun to fight them.
Yeah,
and it's also like the only moment where like when you fight them, you pretty much have to do it. Like, in the museum, initially, it's like, you fight 2, you get a little break, you fight 2, you get a little break, you fight the last one. And then, when you're in the last stage, it's either later in this stage, or it's in the last stage. You have to fight all 5 of them. There's one right after another. I think it is in the
last stage when you're sieging Shredder's castle, is what I would call it. But, and then you have to fight all of them, and you also have to fight Shredder's guard. Where are they at? What are they? Where are they on this list?
The Shredder guards? I didn't put them.
Oh.
I didn't think they were notable.
Notable? They're really cool. Shredder's guards? Okay,
Oh my god, I completely forgot about them.
Yeah, they're okay. I don't know if they have like a name.
I think they're just called like the Elite Guard, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's 4. I think
there are 4. I think in the game you fight like 1 or 2, and it's random which ones you fight. I don't think you fight all 4.
I thought you did.
I don't know. The last stage is the one that I have the least memory of because it's the one we played through the least.
Anyway, so they're Shredder's guards. They are really mysterious. They never talk, and they just fight whenever Shredder tells them to. And they have, like, one has a Naginata, another has, I don't know, like 2 scimitars?
Yeah.
Almost. And those are the only 2 I can remember. I think another literally has, like, a spear, you know?
They have, like, a battle axe or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the battle axe, yeah. They do have, like, they just have, like, you know, less orthodox weapons.
Yeah.
But they're hard bosses because they teleport around a lot.
Yeah.
And they attack a lot in wide arcing patterns around their bodies. So it can be hard to dodge and it can be hard to get in to hit them. That's why I think they're notable.
Yeah, because it's like you don't really there is not a block, there is no dodge. There is a dash, which is like, I mean, it's a dash. It's not like you can use it to dodge, but for the most part, you know, it's just running. So it can be kind of hard to get away from attacks because of that. Like if you're too close, it's just mash the dash button. But you know, I mean, there's a lot of bosses. It's a big game.
Mm-hmm.
So the game is co-op, multiplayer, couch co-op. It is 2 players, not 4. Despite the fact that it is a Ninja Turtles game, you cannot play with 4 players. I kind of understand why, because I feel like just the way the game is, how it looks, how it runs,
the size.
In the size, it would be too much.
The size of the levels, like adding another 2 players in there,
because you'd also have to add the enemies to combat.
Like the ratio.
It would be hard to do, but you know, it's still like it's a Ninja Turtles game. It should be 4 people because you can't even do like versus on 4 players, something like that. That'd be easier.
If they were to reboot this for a modern day, I would say have it be online co-op 4 players.
Yeah. Bigger levels, too.
Obviously, yeah.
So, yeah, we also did mention there is a versus mode. You can fight each other with many characters. Each player-specific boss can be unlocked for versus. So, like, you know, for Raphael, you unlock Kathy for versus. For Leo, you unlock Splinter for versus. For Mikey, you unlock Hun. And I think Don unlocks the robot turtle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then you can also get Shredder and Oroku Saki, specifically just the 2 of them. When I was looking up this game specifically for like this episode, it also said that there were races you could do, and I do not remember that.
Is it like foot races around the dojo?
Well, it didn't say, because I think I remember that, but also it said like you could race like with Raph and Casey on motorcycles.
What?
And and there was another race kind of similar to that, like, and I was like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, no,
like, what?
We never did that.
So it's. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I loved about this game. It had layers upon layers, and you just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Because there are also...
It never told us that, like, oh, you're picking Leonardo, you're going through Leonardo's story, you know?
Well, I think if you played by yourself, you would probably get that easier, but for us playing co-op, we just thought, oh, you're picking your turtles, you know?
Yeah, because as soon as you're player 1 and you switch, you have to start over.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, Yeah, that caught us by surprise when we tried to do that, because we thought we'd, like, deleted our save accidentally or something.
Right.
But then, as well, there are collectibles in the game. There are Makimotos, just little scrolls.
Yep.
There are 5 different colors, one for each turtle, that turtle has to be the main character to be able to pick it up. And then there are gray ones, they basically unlock, like, concept art, stuff like that for each character and the game in general and stuff. If you find all of them, you unlock the ability to play through the story as Casey and Splinter.
Wait. Could they be the main character?
Yes.
Did that change? Did they have their own unique
I don't think we
track?
ever did that. From what I read, yes.
Interesting.
But obviously, I don't know, because we never did that. It's certainly something I would be interested in checking out, but we don't. As of now, I do not know. And, yeah, that's the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, man, it's such a good game.
It is a great game.
Alright, so now, go ahead.
You're good. I was going to say, even, talking about it just makes me want to play it, you know. It's one of those games.
I think it's safe to say that this game hits us right in the nostalgia very hard.
True. But I mean, like, we've played through it multiple times.
Oh,
and
yeah,
never,
a lot.
Like, we've loved it the same amount every time. It's
time.
not like...
I mean, talk about how much we love it. I own it, so I played it because we were doing this episode, and it's fun. A lot easier than I remember. Actually. But
you only played the first stage.
I did, but it was
you didn't even get to the hard parts. Yeah,
but I didn't...
We always think it's easy at the beginning. I
didn't even, die once.
You beat up those thugs and you're like...
Pretty much, yeah.
No,
it was.
That's not how it works.
It was. I mean, but
you wait until you get to the Earth Mystic Ninja, and there's 800 balls rolling around, and you're just sitting there like, hit. You know, that thing gets a 30-hit combo, and you're dead, and then you throw the controller.
Yeah, it's but I mean, it was fun. Like, I absolutely enjoyed it.
And you played it for how long?
About like an hour. It was.
That's fair. Stage 1 in an hour.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's the only reason I even knew that who Dragon Face was.
Oh, that's so funny. I would definitely...
Because if you're not Raph, he's the first boss.
Right. I would definitely love to play those games again. I wish there was an easier way than needing an old system.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, I don't know, because there are 2 games that are sequels to this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm 90% sure we played both of them, but I have like no memories of that. I think the second had a story that was much like this one.
Yes.
But I don't remember that well, and the third game I don't remember well at all.
I remember the second, and I remember a little bit of the third game. The third game was almost completely different.
Well, I think the third game was just like a fighter, right?
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't. Yeah, I remember that.
It was kind of like
it's like a Super Smash Bros. Or like a PlayStation All Stars,
kind of something like that. Yeah,
arcade fighter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, favorite moment.
Favorite moment. My favorite moment. Oh man, that's hard. Probably be the it's not my favorite boss fight because it technically is more one, but the Mystic Ninjas, like that whole, like, they're not my favorite boss fights, but it's such a fun, like, I guess really that museum area.
Okay.
Is just awesome.
Yeah, that's your favorite level.
Awesome. Yeah,
that's fair. Honestly, I like the rooftops.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you're on the rooftops and you're fighting the Foot Ninja, that's when I'm like, okay, this is Ninja Turtles. You know, like, we get past all the Mouser bullshit and the gang fights. You know, that doesn't feel like the Ninja Turtles to me. Out there fighting ninjas and the Shredder and magic.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite boss battle would definitely have to be Shredder. You know?
Yeah. I really like the Turtle Bot. I think it's really cool, just like the fact that it can use all the weapons, especially like playing through the story. I remember, like first time, just being like, oh my god, he's using our attacks. That's our stuff he's using. You know,
right.
It was like, it's really cool. Like, you're actually like fighting yourselves in a way.
Mm-hmm. It is cool, and it's cool when you can get good at it in the versus mode, and then you can just switch between the turtles and use the staff and then the swords, and then,
Mm-hmm.
And because they also take the other characters' jump attacks or special attacks that you've gotten through the training and whatnot. And anywho, I was gonna say about Shredder. What I like about Shredder is I love that he was incredibly difficult. You know,
he was,
because that's what Shredder is supposed to be. You know, a super tough boss.
No,
anyway, I like what you said you don't like about the game.
Yes, there's no block.
No block.
It just makes the game a bit harder that you can't block or dodge. But like I said, playing the game today, like, I don't know exactly if there are for sure more enemies in co-op, because I did just play by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But even though, like, there are, 5, like, enemies on screen at once, all ganged up together, like, I don't think my health ever went below 75%.
Yeah.
Because, and then, like, I kept finding food items, like pizzas, which recharge your health 100, and I'm like, well, I feel kind of bad taking this, because I'm only missing, like, 10% of my health, but
right.
I'm gonna grab it because, like, I can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I was surprised by how easy the game was. So, like, playing it really made me think, like, oh, well, maybe it's fine if there's no block, but it's still like, is it that hard to put a block button? I will also say the enemy AI can be a little sad. Like, when you get knocked down, it takes you like 10 seconds to get back up. I don't like that. But, like, the enemies, they attack very slowly. They attack once and then don't attack again for 5 seconds at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that, it was
I would also like to reiterate that you just played through the first stage.
I mean, you're correct.
You did not get the full,
No, I mean, it's still fun. It's just those things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Specifically, like, I guess you would say if it is other enemies, just the gang members. Then their enemies weren't great.
Yeah, the gang members do have that problem. I remember distinctly because they'll like strut around you holding a bat, and you just stand there, and I'm like, okay, do something.
Yeah, pretty much. They just don't hit a lot.
Right. But maybe it's like our indie bit game where it's more difficult in co-op.
I think friendly fire is a thing, is it not, in this game?
It is.
Yeah, then that also explains it. Like, I swear you could hit each other.
I don't think you could hit each other with your attack. No, you can't. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. Because that just popped in my head earlier.
No, I don't think you can hit each other with your attacks, but like environmental stuff, like explosions and barrels and stuff like that.
That's the way we would kill each other a lot, is one of us would blow up a barrel and another would stand next to it, yeah.
Right. Something I didn't like about this game is the fact that when you switch, when player 1 is playing, player 2 doesn't count. You know?
Yeah.
I don't like co-op games where that's the case. I think both players should feel like they have an impact, you know? Mm-hmm. So, while player 1 is Leo, player 2 is Raph, Leo and Raph's stories should progress simultaneously. Other than that, I pretty much loved everything.
Yeah.
Or the jumping mechanics. Jesus.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not like platforming isn't a huge aspect of the game, it's fine, but whenever platforming is important, it can be annoying. Mm-hmm. Replayability.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we've replayed it a lot of times throughout the years, and we probably will continue to.
I mean, it's like, we probably played this game 20 times at least, and we've beaten it once.
True. It is difficult, you know?
I mean, we haven't played
especially for a kid's game.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for Ninja Turtles, so now we're going to move on to the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games. So this week, we're talking about Cuphead. Yay! So this game, I heard this from a second-hand source.
Okay.
I believe was announced at E3 2014. I think that's when I first saw it as well. And it sucked because it was an Xbox exclusive. But the art, the music, everything about it just instantly entranced me. And I was super excited when it came out on PlayStation and I got to play it. So I guess first, we'll go over the story. Basically, Cuphead and Mugman, two brothers, they ended up going to the Devil's Casino. Mm-hmm. They were gambling, they were winning at craps a lot, which is the game where you roll dice and stuff. Yep. Eventually, the devil himself came out and challenged them to a bet. They lost the bet, and so they owed him their souls. To keep their souls, he said, bring me the souls of all these people that still owe me their souls. And that starts the game.
Right, you go around collecting the souls.
Yep. The game itself, mostly boss battles, but it's run and gun, 2D platformer. Mm-hmm. You have your finger gun, the pea shooter. There are 6 different types of guns you can get, do different things. Mm-hmm. There are different charms you get that give you certain abilities. There are super arts, which are like super moves you unlock.
Yeah, all are very crucial to gameplay.
Yeah. So, did you like this game?
Yes and no. I love this game. The design, the music, the gameplay itself. I like the vaudevillian theme it has. And the theme song, when you turn it on, before you press start, is catchy.
All the music is catchy. It is like the music when you talk to King Dice.
You're right. The rat-a-tat-tat.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anywho, what I don't like about the game is the insane difficulty level.
It is a hard game.
I am not one for these types of games where, like for example, the plane levels, where it's been in countless games before, where you're side-scrolling and you're shooting to the other side. I think
it's called those are called bullet hells or something like that.
Bullet hells, okay.
Just a lot of
that makes sense with a bunch of shit flying
at you that you gotta dodge while shooting the whole time.
Got it. I don't like that. I am not a fan of that game mode. But you have to play it in order to play the rest of this game and continue on with the story, So I got to the last world, and eventually I rage deleted the game, of course. But I got the gist, Mm-hmm. Each level is unique and has unique enemies who have unique fighting styles, and mostly the game is about the bosses. You spend most of the time fighting different bosses.
Yeah. I did like this game.
Okay.
I cannot describe how much I love this game. It is so fun. You know, there are 6 running gun levels, each one completely unique, completely different. They don't have like a single repeating enemy. Then there are a total of 19 bosses. They're all fun. They're all unique. There's not really a lot of repeats in them either.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing, I guess, to repeats would be the plane levels, just because there's kind of less you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat the story. In terms of trophies, I only have 1 trophy left. Beat all the bosses on Expert. I'm currently working my way through that. I've done 8.
How do you do that?
It's hard.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it, because I thought it was impossible to beat the later bosses on normal.
I will say, I did, when I was playing through the game normally, Island 1 is, whatever. Island 2 to me, has 2 of the hardest bosses in the game, which is Grim Matchstick, the dragon.
Oh, Grim Matchstick is a fun one. I had a lot of trouble with Grim Matchstick.
Wally Warbles, who is the bird in the birdhouse and stuff. It's a plane level.
Yeah.
I think those 2 levels alone took me 6 hours.
Wow.
Like, Grim Matchstick, I think, took me like 4 hours. I was on him for a long time. And then, in comparison, when I got to World 3, most of those bosses I breezed through. There were 3 bosses in World 3 I struggled with. One was Rumor Honeybottoms, the bee queen.
Mm-hmm.
That one I could not beat. Literally, I had to play her on simple difficulty to beat her to unlock the run and gun level behind her, because if you beat a boss on simple, it opens the map, but you don't get the soul contract. So I had to get the run and gun level behind her to get the coins in that level to then buy the chaser gun where your bullets just automatically go to enemies.
Oh, you didn't know that. I
knew it existed, I just didn't buy it.
No, there are 2 main types of fire in this game. Actually, you only need... Yeah, no, I'll say the 2 main types of fire you need in this game. You need the tracking one, and you need the one that's 3.
The spread.
The
spread is the best in the game. It's very good.
Yeah.
That one is always
really short range. It doesn't work in every
that one
scenario.
That one is always my thing. Like, usually my go-to is the spread and pea shooter, because the pea shooter has the best EX attack, which is the big boosh, but the spread I think is the best weapon. But I couldn't beat her with any of the weapons I had. And so, I had to beat her on simple to then unlock the thing behind her, so then I could... But then when I got the chaser, I beat her with an A+.
Exactly.
So it made that fight laughably easy.
Exactly. I was going to say, I beat her like on the 2nd or 3rd try. It was a joke, I thought, because I had the tracking one was the first one I bought.
Like, any level any boss level where platforming is a big deal, get the chaser, because then you can just focus on platforming and hold the button.
I was just about to say, you just hold down the attack button. Doesn't matter where it's pointing, because it's going to go towards the enemy. And then you just focus on dodging. Yeah.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, so that fight was made laughably easy. Then Dr. Cal's robot was very hard.
Yeah. Was that a plain one?
Yes.
That was the one that I rage quit on.
Yeah, that one, it honestly took me like 20 minutes to beat the boss. But I very much put luck into that, because that is the hardest first stage, I think, of any bosses. It is a lot going on at once, and it really...
Oh, yeah.
It really... Again, you can only hit him on 3 specific points. It was a very long fight. Took me... Like I said, I beat that boss super fast, but I beat it and, turned to my girlfriend who was watching, and I was like, I cannot believe I beat that this quickly. When I first started, I was like, this boss is going to take hours. I thought he'd be up there with, Grim Matchstick and me taking that long.
Yep.
And then the Phantom Express took a while, but that one, to me, it wasn't as hard as the others, but it just, it kind of, the one random aspect of it, which I guess you didn't do it, so it'd be kind of hard to explain, just made the fight, I felt like when I died a lot of times in that fight, it was more bullshit than, I messed up.
Yeah, I had trouble with the RNG on the one where you're facing the Egyptian in the plane.
Oh, Jimmy the Great?
Yeah, because the first stage of that one...
Oh, that's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, is random to which one it is, and there's only really one good one, and that's the sword one.
Oh,
the sword one is laughable.
I liked the sword one, and the cat one was not bad.
The cat one could be tricky. Because they didn't really have a set pattern. They were just... It was the placement
of them. Well, I think when they first came out of the treasure chest, they would just go to you, towards where you were at that moment when it decides to go forward. And then when the things come out, they just kind of track you up to a certain point. When he has, just the jewels flying out, anytime that phase started, I just restart the fight. Because there was no way.
It's a waste of time. Because I can't do it.
So then, I swear I could do just a whole episode on this game. But yeah, I mean, it's just really fun. I really enjoyed it. King Dice is really cool because how his fight works is he holds up a dice. It's going between 1, 2, and 3, and you roll it and you move along this board, and there are 9 mini bosses that you can randomly fight. And you can fight. You have to fight at least 3, but with dice rolls and stuff, you could fight more. The dice is pretty easy to predict to just be able to roll whatever you want. Like, I've learned that pretty quickly, which helps it. But yeah, that's really cool. All those mini bosses are pretty cool. And then cool. He does then his fight, he only does one attack where basically he'll put a hand here and a bunch of cards just go out in the line, and every like few cards is like a pink one, so you have to parry the pink ones to not get hit.
Right.
Cool fight. The devil was cool. But yeah, it was a great game. I loved it. The only things I would say I really didn't like is I did not like the run and gun levels as much. I think because they were a lot more random than the bosses, like a lot less like kind of predictable stuff, which would at some points just to me be completely like, well, there's no way I could have not gotten hit in this situation. Like literally nothing I could have done because of like enemy patterns lining up in a specific way and things like that. I did for one trophy, you have to beat all the run and gun levels without killing an enemy. That to me was when I actually enjoyed those, doing the run and gun levels in that way because it's just more creative and platforming and stuff. Like that was really fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was just like, and then like I said, like the plane levels, I enjoyed them, but they were certainly to me the harder bosses because you have less control than like when you're just running around platforming because you don't, obviously with the regular bosses, if I'm having trouble, I'm like, okay, well let me give myself this weapon and see if that helps. And,
right, exactly.
But with the plane, you can't do that, so that kind of sucks. But I love this game. I hope I'll have the platinum here soon.
Honestly, fuck this game though. But that's okay. I respect it for what it is. And that also, is not for me.
It's, because I didn't mention this, but it is like just the art style with the 30s cartoon. Like as someone who I love 30s, 20s, 40s, like early cartoons, so seeing this kind of inspired by those is awesome. I love that. And the music is absolutely incredible. Like you're listening to the same music on a loop for hours fighting the same boss, but it never gets old.
Right. My opinion might have been a lot more positive if we'd been able to play co-op.
Yeah, you can't do online co-op.
Yep.
But that'd be hard with how much goes on because potential lag and stuff. But yeah, that's Cuphead. I love it. It's probably one of my like top games of all time. So, what indie game are we doing next?
Oh yeah, so the next game we're gonna do is, I think it's an indie game, is Concrete Genie. Was that free?
Yes, it was a free PlayStation Plus game.
Okay. I didn't know if you paid for it. I wouldn't put it.
It was. What do you know about this game?
I know that it has to do with graffiti that comes to life.
Gotcha.
And it's also VR compatible, which I may also give a shot.
I know that, 1, it's a PlayStation exclusive, and 2, that's it.
That's all you know about it?
Yeah, I know, like, I had never even heard of this game until Ghost of Tsushima, because there's the Ghost of Tsushima Easter egg with all the origami PlayStation mascots, listen to that episode for that. And that's one of them that's referenced, and I was like, well, it's all about PlayStation exclusives, so I know that this game is a PlayStation exclusive, but other than that, literally, I had never heard of that game before. I have no idea what it is.
I think I heard the Willems talk about it at some point. And so, I figured it was like one of those artistic indie games. And then it was free, and so I was like, I'll download it and I'll play it with,
Yeah, and I like artistic. I mean, I'll play it.
Right.
Like, I'll always give a game a shot. Cool, so yeah, that's the indie game we'll be doing next time. So, yeah, don't forget, new episodes out every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't. Tell us why. Tell your friends and your enemies about the podcast. And you can follow our Twitter at Superb Gamer Bros. That is SUPERB Gamer Bros. For updates on episodes and maybe other stuff. I tweeted a video of Titanfall the other day.
Yay.
That's cool. And, yeah, we'll see you guys next game.
Just a random Titanfall video.
Oh, it's of that achievement.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Oh, the running. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, say
we
bye.
can also put up. Oh, give me a second.
Yeah, say bye so I can end the episode.
Bye.